Is there freedom to be had from overthinking? That is the question I'm going to be answering in this podcast episode today. The people that I work with struggle massively with overthinking. And you might think that it's just who you are, that because you've always done it, or that it's a personality trait or whatever. But actually, that is a complete myth. Our brain, when we're born, it's like a piece of software to be programmed. And the things that you do, whether it's worrying or being somebody who plans to the nth degree or somebody who is spontaneous, all the different things that make you who you are, it's down to patterns and programs in the mind. Now, of course, genetically, we can be more predisposed to being a positive person or optimistic, those things, yeah, we can say to a certain degree they are genetic, but also it's conditioning. It's conditioning. When we are a child from the ages 0 to 7, it's called the imprinting phase. And that is where you are just every single moment of your life, you are programming your brain based on the experiences that you're having. You're watching your caregivers, you're taking in everything that they are saying and doing and reacting to and responding. And so this is why, as if you're a parent and once your child starts talking, they'll just repeat the things that you say. And you might think that your child has an amazing memory, but actually they're taking on everything, every single experience that they are living in the moment, they're remembering, because it's not a case of remembering or not. It's everything is being stored because the subconscious mind stores everything. Everything you ever experience, it stores. And when you're a child, you're just absorbing. You are like a sponge absorbing everything that's around you. But unfortunately, you don't have a mature brain to have an understanding and to contextualize things. So you can make decisions about things that happen and make them mean things about you, or basically shape your understanding of how you view the world and who you are as a person, which can then hold you back massively, further down the line as an adult. And I don't want to go into this too much because I know that I've got a lot of listeners who listen to everything that I say every week. So if this kind of thing intrigues you and you've not heard it yet, go and listen to the episode on your amazing subconscious mind. It will explain this in more detail. But if you are an overthinker, it's not a case of that's who you are and that's it. You'll be an overthinker for the rest of your life. It's just a way that you have come to be programmed. Your brain has come to be programmed to overthink because it thinks that you've made the decision at some point that overthinking is a good thing to do because then you will be prepared. And this is all subconscious. You won't necessarily know that this has happened. But if you overthink, at some point in your life, you've decided that it's a good idea to think and think and think and think and think, because then you are prepared for all eventualities, which of course we know is never the case. And our brain, we've got a primitive brain which hasn't evolved since the caveman days. And so it is primed to be negative. Its default mode is always going to be negative. So when we're overthinking, naturally, the tone of our thoughts are negative. We catastrophize, we worry. Nobody is ever an overthinker of positive things. Otherwise, this wouldn't be an issue. And so, yeah, that feeling that your brain is just running away with you, or that you struggle to make a decision, or you're constantly worrying, you're doubting yourself, you're doubting how you come across. You worry that you read things into situations that are just over the top and you can't focus on one thing. You've got brain fog and you just feel like you are a little bit paralyzed, really, in terms of action taking. Let's say you've got an afternoon free, an unexpected bit of time. If you are stuck in this sort of overthinking type constant brain activity that is just excessive and unhelpful to you, you can have this unexpected afternoon of time and then just not know what to do, like just have decision fatigue. And so you end up just sitting there doing nothing, or like scrolling on your phone mindlessly. And when at the same time you feel like you just never have enough time, when actually all of your time is just not being used productively because you haven't got the headspace to make good decisions about things that are actually going to serve you and make you feel calmer and happier. And so, yeah, you just end up in a bit of a tiz because your brain isn't functioning optimally. Optimally, is that word? I think it is. You're functioning from your primitive brain, basically. Too much adrenaline in your system, too much overthinking, too much in your stress bucket. And so, yeah, you're just not getting the best from yourself or your time, and therefore not enjoying yourself as much as you could be because you're spending so much time overthinking that you're not able to be in the moment, enjoying yourself. So let's take an for example. You can't just sit and be and enjoy your kids because you're too busy worrying about all the things that you need to do or all the things that could go wrong tomorrow, just trying to plan to the nth degree in your mind when actually you'd love to just be able to switch off and just sit and enjoy your kids and be present. So, yeah, overthinking can affect you in so many ways because, naturally speaking, your brain just doesn't ever switch off. So, yeah, it can make you feel exhausted. You've got too much adrenaline in your system, which exhausts you anyway. It can make you take ages to fall asleep because you just can't turn your brain off. Alternatively, you can be so exhausted that you just fall asleep straight away, but then your brain wakes you up in the middle of the night and then ding, your brain is a go. And all these thoughts run around your head, which makes it impossible to fall back to sleep. Other consequences of overthinking is just that, yeah, you struggle to have clarity. You doubt yourself so much. So you don't just get on with the things that you want to do in your life. You hold yourself back. You don't live life as genuinely as you would like to be. You're not your authentic self because you worry all sorts of different reasons. You worry about how you would come across if you said how you truly feel. So, overthinking comes hand in hand often with people pleasing tendencies and very rubbish boundaries, and just all makes for a life that's not as ideal as you would like it to be, and just leaves you feeling a little bit like, is this it? And then you question, because you're an overthinker, you question, you look at other people, maybe like me, you look on stories, like you watch me on stories on Instagram and you're just like, how the fuck does she do that? Like, is this real? Like, is she actually that chilled? Well, yeah, I am. I really am. And I am the essence of everything that I am. I pass on to my clients. I teach this. And it's not just about teaching, it's about hypnotherapy and supporting you to embody the change from where you are to where you want to be. And so the question that I want to answer in this episode is, can you stop being an overthinker? And the answer is yes, of course you can. It's just a habit. It's just a habit that your brain has come to rely on heavily when you're operating from your primitive brain. And so the key, number one priority, if you're listening to this and you've just found yourself nodding, like frustratingly nodding at all of the different symptoms that I've been mentioning, and if that's you, then here is your number one priority. Stop living in your primitive brain. Get yourself out of your primitive brain, because that's the part of your brain that's very negative and is causing you to feel tired and struggling, not being able to live in the moment. When you are not in your primitive brain, you start operating from your intellectual mind. That's the part of your brain that you can just feel good and feel calm and feel in control of your emotions and happy and not have the brain fog and start to sleep better because there's less in your stress bucket. And so I'd like to signpost you to a few episodes here to give you a little bit more detail on how to do this. So first of all, if you haven't listened to these already, go and listen to I Have a Caveman Brain. Then another one that would be good for you is how to boost your mood away from negativity. And then other ones are The Secret to Happiness, Up-Level Your Joy, Confidence, Positivity. All of these different episodes are going to help give you the information that you need to make some changes. But it's not easy. If you are an overthinker, I'm telling you now, it is not easy to get away from this. It is an embedded, automatic pattern and program that is there for you because your brain has decided at some point that this is what it needs to do to help you stay alive. And of course, it's not serving you at all. It's making your life a little bit of a misery at times because you're not able to be present. And so, yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's going to take consistency and effort and commitment to move away from this habit. So, yeah, number one, get out of your primitive brain. Focus on doing the things that are going to give you the feel-good chemicals that you need to get out of your primitive brain and into your intellectual mind. So those 3 Ps are what I talk about. They're the things that generate and produce the feel-good chemicals in your brain that lift you up out of your primitive brain and into your intellectual mind, where it's much nicer place to be. So the three P's then are positive actions, doing things that you enjoy for enjoyment's sake, putting yourself first. Number two, positive interactions, being sociable. And when we're sociable, we get the feel good chemicals to lift us up as well. Number three, and this is the game changer for you, it's a positive mindset. And the thing is, it's the thoughts, the negativity, and the worry in your thoughts that is adding to your stress bucket because your brain can't tell the difference between real and imagination. So every time you're worrying and you're overthinking, it's going in your stress bucket and it's making life harder for you. But here's the thing, the people that I work with, they come to me and they're doing all the things that they can to get them to a place where they're enjoying life. Like, it's not horrendous, you know. My program's called Change Your Life, but it's not about me picking people up off the floor. I want to work with people who aren't that bad, you know. They recognize that life is not as good as it could be and are ready to do something about it, to get to a place where I am. You know, they watch me on stories and they know that that is possible. They believe that that is possible and they just want it for themselves. That's what I do. Okay, so I just teach and pass on through hypnotherapy, because it's the hypnotherapy that gets into the subconscious mind and does the reprogramming that is needed so that you can be calm. Okay, but here's the thing, you can be positive, active, sociable, and doing your best, doing all the things, the exercise, the meditation, the yoga, the journaling, doing all of these things. And yeah, most of the time, day to day, you're living in your intellectual mind. But there's this one thing that is holding you back, and it's the constant overthinking. Because the overthinking undoes all of the hard work of looking after yourself and prioritizing yourself and all of the positive actions and the positive interactions. It's the overthinking that will undo all of that, because when you're overthinking, naturally you're thinking about negative things and worrying, and your brain can't tell the difference between whether it's just a thought or whether it's actually happening. So it releases all the adrenaline and it goes in your stress bucket, and hence you can see why you're undoing all of the hard work, creating the feel-good chemicals by prioritizing yourself and exercising and doing the fun things. But at the same time, if you're overthinking, you're basically holding yourself back from living properly in your intellectual mind and really getting the best from yourself. So it's about a commitment then to create new habits, so that when you recognize that you're overthinking, it's the level of self-awareness to recognize what's happening, recognize when you're having a primitive brain thought and reframe it, turn it around. Ask yourself, is this true? Of course not. Ask yourself, is this really going to happen, or am I catastrophizing? Of course I am. Okay, stop. Think of something different instead. Think of something that actually excites me or that makes me feel good. Basically, I'm telling you to occupy your mind. When you notice that you're overthinking, you need to occupy your mind to change the track. Because if the track is just negative thought and worry after negative thought and worry, you're just going to spiral and you're going to add more and more stress into your stress bucket and make it harder for yourself to stay present and calm and in control of your emotions. So it's about changing the track and occupying your mind, because your brain can't think two things at the same time, can it? So if you occupy your mind by, I don't know, singing a song or having a conversation with somebody about what's been good, you know, a positive, solution focused conversation, or doing something that's going to take your mind off of overthinking, then that's what you need to do to stop the overthinking in its tracks. And this is what I'm saying. It's about consistency of that. It's a consistent commitment to move away from the overthinking brain pattern. Okay. Because at the moment it's hardwired in your brain, and we can undo a bad habit by not doing the habit for a long enough time that your brain thinks that those neural connections aren't being used anymore, and will decide to prune them off, because your brain does that. Your brain is this amazing, incredible organ that is efficient. Okay, so your brain will look at what's being used and the neural pathways that are being used, and it will basically, like a gardener prunes off bits that aren't growing anymore in the garden. That's what your brain will do. And you might have heard the phrase for the elderly or aging population, use it or lose it, whether that's with your physical limbs or your brain. You know, that's why Sudoku became so big about 10 years ago, because you need to use your brain, otherwise you'll lose it. Okay. And the same with like the actual neural connections, you need to use them, otherwise you lose those neural connections. So if we stop using the overthinking brain pattern, then eventually it will become a habit that is no longer a habit, but it's one of the hardest ones to break, because it just is. But it's doable. It's absolutely doable with commitment and awareness. Okay. First of all, in order to change, you need the level of self awareness. So, my advice to you, if you're listening to this, is to set yourself out some kind of game plan over the next 3 months to like reconsume all my content again, like go on Instagram, consume my content, listen to the podcast episodes again, and basically just implement every single bit of advice that I give and practice and believe in yourself. Imagine that I am there, right there with you, like cheering you on. And this is what it's like inside my program. Because if you want to collapse your timeline and get to a place where you can completely get rid of the overthinking and anything else that is bugging you in your life, whether it's emotional eating, unhealthy coping mechanisms, low energy, low mood, poor sleep, anything basically that means that you're not living your very best life, is changeable because it's down to the patterns and the programs that are running in the mind. Okay, so you've got two options here. You can really consume everything that I share with you on the podcast and on Instagram and really be an active participant in my world. I've said time and time again now that I view everybody who is in my world as a client. And some of those pay me and are inside my containers. Most of them don't. If you are a follower and you're listening to my podcast every week, you can change your life. But you have to be an active participant. You have to put in the work. Everything that you need is within you. You just need guidance. And your guidance is here, right here. You just need to take the steps to make the changes. Okay. But yeah, if you want to collapse your timeline and get to that place much quicker, i.e., in the space of 16 weeks, where you can rapidly turn things around and change your life, so you'll get to a place where you don't worry and you don't overthink and you feel confident to just be your authentic self and live life exactly the way you want to, and have energy and positivity and confidence and courage to just make the bold moves that, to make things stop being a dream and actually bring your dreams to life. Just basically achieve the things that you want to achieve and live the life that you want to live, your very best life. Then this is the program Promise in my Change Your Life program. And so how it works is using solution-focused hypnotherapy to reprogram your subconscious mind away from the programs that are currently running, that are causing you to feel the way you are and act the way you do. Reprogram them so that they are more positive, so that you feel more positive, and therefore take different actions and change your reality. So it's that. It's also learning about the brain on a much deeper level. And then it's weekly coaching, weekly one-to-one coaching inside the group program or on a one-to-one with me, where I support you to embody the changes that you want to make. Because it's one thing, let's say it's one thing accessing information on a course or on a YouTube video, but it's another thing actually having me there with you, not just on the weekly calls, but inside our community Facebook group as well, helping you to make the changes that you need to make and build the confidence in yourself to do that, and to help you learn to continuously evolve and up level your mindset forever. So way beyond the 4 months the program finishes, like by the end, you're feeling so confident that you can consistently stay in a good place because you know how your mind works, you know what you're doing, you feel confident, and your life just gets better and better because the subconscious programming is a much, much better place. This is what my program is about, and I'm so, so proud of it. And so this has, and I'm aware that I've talked about quite a lot on this episode about the work that I actually do inside my containers, but it genuinely is the fastest way to get over overthinking. You can do it yourself by implementing all of the advice that I've given, and just a commitment to do that day in, day out. But you will need self-belief and you will need grit, because it's an embedded, hardwired habit if you are an overthinker. So yeah, there's that option. And do feel free to come over onto my Instagram, ask me any questions you have about this episode today or any other episode. And yeah, the more you are an active participant in my world, the more you will get, because your subconscious mind is listening to everything that you are thinking and doing. And so if you take an action, for example, sending me a message or whatever, like, or talking about the podcast episode with somebody else, Yeah, your subconscious mind is listening to everything that you are thinking and doing. So your actions speak louder than words. So if, for example, you're listening to this episode and you want to implement the things that I'm suggesting, but you just got it on whilst you're doing the washing up, and then you're going to like go on and do something else later, the message that your subconscious mind is getting is that it's not important. Whereas actually, that's fine if you're doing the washing up and you're listening to this, but actually, if you make the commitment to then tomorrow morning sit down and listen again, but with your notebook out and make some notes, and then put into a plan of action, a step to take to implement the advice I've given, then the message that your subconscious brain is getting is, this is more important. And so it will be more advantageous to you. You will get more results from it if you take action, basically. Your subconscious mind is always listening to your thoughts and the things that you are saying. And so the actions that you take give your brain messages. Do you want to carry on as you are, or do you want to change? Where's your commitment at? And so if you're listening to this and you are interested in collapsing your timeline, getting to a place where overthinking and all the other things that I've mentioned is a thing of the past, then there is space in my Change Your Life group program at the moment. Just send me a message on Instagram at Believe and Achieve with Jenna with the keyword change. Or if you prefer, you can email me info@believe-achieve.co.uk with the keyword change, and let's get a conversation started. The next step will be to book a free discovery call in to make sure that you're the right fit for the program. And yeah, then we will get you in. And 4 months down the line, you will never look back. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. As always, if you have any questions about anything that I said today, then please don't hesitate to get in touch, and just know that it is possible to move away from overthinking. It's so, so possible. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you next week. Bye. My mission with this podcast and why I started it was to serve. And so I really hope that everything I've shared with you today and in previous episodes is serving you and helping you to change your life. It requires consistent action. It requires effort. But if you're willing to put in the work, then you can absolutely change a great deal just by listening to me and implementing my advice. However, if you're listening and you would like to work with me, then obviously I work too. I do solution-focused hypnotherapy and much more. And my program is called Change Your Life. And it's a program that I'm really proud of. So if you're interested in this and would like some more information about how it works and whether it would be right for you, then do get in touch with me via the information in the show notes. Thanks again for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to share it with a friend or stick it up on stories on Instagram and tag me at Believe and Achieve with Jenna. See you next week.